At my sister's engagement party, my parents introduced me as the creative one who never really settled. She got applause for a diamond ring. I got a shrug and a fake smile. My name's Rachel Miller, and I'm the twin they never expected would outgrow the shadow they built around me. Before we get started, where are you tuning in from? Are you in the middle of the morning rush or on a late-night drive? Drop a comment below. You're about to hear everything that happened after I made the choice that changed everything. Growing up, being a twin didn't mean equal attention. It meant being compared constantly. Rebecca was louder, blonder, and better at charming a room. She was a straight-A student, class president, debate team captain. I was the kid in the back of the art room sketching album covers and losing track of time. It wasn't like I hated her. We were sisters. We shared a room, a birthday, a closet, but I always knew where I stood. When she got into Dartmouth, my parents threw a dinner party. When I got into a state school with a partial art scholarship, they said, "At least it's affordable." Rebecca went on to major in business. I double majored in graphic design and marketing. She came home every break with stories of professors who changed her life. I came home with freelance commissions and part-time jobs. No one asked about them. After college, she got a job at a high-end firm in New York. I stayed in Atlanta working from my apartment, building a tiny design business, one client at a time. She posted polished office selfies. I posted brand boards and typography guides. My parents called hers career updates. Mine were cute little side projects. By 30, Rebecca had a luxury apartment, a promotion, and a ring from a lawyer named Tyler who wore suede loafers and called me kiddo. I had a thriving branding agency with a small team, steady revenue, and contracts with regional chains, none of which my family ever asked about. "Still doing that artsy thing?" my dad asked last Thanksgiving, carving the turkey like it wasn't a knife in my gut. "Yeah," I said. "Pays the bills." He laughed. "Well, at least you're staying busy." It didn't matter how far I'd come. To them, I was still Rebecca's twin, the one who didn't follow the plan, the one who didn't make them proud in ways they understood. At family gatherings, she introduced me as, "This is my sister Rachel. She's super creative." Never what I actually did. Never that I ran a growing business. Just vague compliments like I was a quirky barista who painted on weekends. Sometimes I wondered if it would ever change, if they'd ever see me without comparing me. But I stopped waiting for that. Because I'd learned something. When people are busy watching the spotlight, they miss what's happening backstage, and I was about to show them exactly what I'd been building in the dark. Rebecca's engagement party was everything I expected. Champagne towers, white roses, a live string quartet that made even the backyard sound expensive. My parents spared no detail. Every table had custom name cards with gold foil. My name, of course, was spelled wrong. Again. Tyler, Rebecca's fiancé, shook hands like he was closing a deal. "Kiddo," he said when he saw me. "Still doing logos or whatever it is?" I smiled politely and nodded. No use explaining to him what brand architecture or consumer retention strategy meant. Rebecca looked stunning in an off-the-shoulder dress, glowing like she was already someone's wife and someone's CEO. My mother beamed at her like she'd just solved world hunger. At one point, she turned to Tyler's parents and said, "Rebecca has always been the organized one. Rachel, well, she's very artistic." Then she laughed, like that was enough to explain me. The moment that stung most came during dessert. Rebecca clinked her glass and stood to give a little speech about gratitude, love, and future plans. She wrapped it up by turning to me with a dazzling smile. "And a big thank you to my sister Rachel for agreeing to help design the invitations. I'm sure they'll be stunning. It'll be great exposure for your work." Everyone clapped. Exposure. That word hit like a slap in the face, as if I were still an undergrad, begging for my first client, as if the last 10 years of building a business meant nothing. I kept my expression calm and even thanked her afterward. But inside, something snapped. What they didn't know, what no one in that backyard knew, was that just 2 weeks earlier, my agency had finalized a contract with a luxury event planning firm, one of the biggest on the East Coast. They wanted a full rebrand from logo to digital collateral. I'd assigned the project to my top team, excited but swamped. I hadn't connected the dots right away. Not until the project manager emailed the list of the firm's upcoming clients. There it was, Rebecca and Tyler. The firm had been hired to plan the entire wedding. They were about to unknowingly approve designs from the sister they thought was still figuring things out. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't need to. My work would speak for itself. Back at the party, my dad handed me a glass of champagne. "Maybe this wedding thing will inspire you to finally settle down," he said with a wink. I smiled. "I've got a lot on my plate right now." "Still doing those little client jobs?" "Something like that," I said, and raised my glass. They still thought I was the understudy in Rebecca's show, but I was about to become the director of the entire production, and they wouldn't even realize it until the spotlight hit. The Monday after Rebecca's engagement party, I walked into our studio's main conference room and dropped a thick client file onto the table. My lead designer, Leela, raised an eyebrow. "That the Miller wedding?" she asked, flipping through the page mock-ups we'd been assembling. "Yep," I said. "Our next big reveal." Everything about the wedding branding screamed excess. Custom fonts, linen paper, floral motifs inspired by French estates. Rebecca's planner had sent over a Pinterest board the size of a novel, and our team had translated it into a full suite of visuals that somehow made it all look cohesive and elevated. She had no idea we were behind it. The agency's name was front and center, but my personal identity was intentionally nowhere to be found. "She's gonna love this," Lila said, eyes scanning the mock-ups. "So when do we tell her?" "We don't," I replied. "Not yet." Part of me wanted to text Rebecca a photo of the suite in progress with a note that said, "Designed by your directionless sister." But something in me wanted her to see the work for what it was, without bias, without context, to love it before realizing it came from the person she'd spent a lifetime underestimating. 2 days later, I got an email from her planner. The couple loved the initial samples. The bride said these designs felt like her entire vision finally made real. I stared at that sentence for a while. The same sister who couldn't name the software I use or what a brand system even is had just fallen in love with my work. My hands. My vision. Not a word of credit was offered or asked for. And that was fine, because something bigger was happening. Later that week, our agency was invited to present a case study at a luxury bridal expo in Charleston. The event planner, impressed with our designs, had submitted our work to the organizers. They chose us as a featured agency. And guess who was attending the expo as a VIP bride? Rebecca. Lila and I flew out with the team and set up a sleek, modern booth with samples from the Miller wedding front and center. We didn't name the clients, of course, just visuals, names blurred, displayed for the design itself to shine. The morning of the presentation, I spotted Rebecca across the convention center, hair curled perfectly, heels clicking confidently, planner in tow. She stopped at our booth. I ducked behind the display wall, heart pounding. "She's loving it," Lila whispered. Told her planner this was the level of detail she wished her sister could achieve. I didn't flinch. I smiled. She didn't recognize me in the crowd of professionals. She never did in real life either. But that moment, that was mine. Because for once she loved something about me without knowing it was me. The room went quiet when I took the stage. We were halfway through the Bridal Expo's afternoon speaker lineup. Lila had introduced me simply, "Rachel Miller, Creative Director at Miller Brand Co." No fanfare, just facts. I stepped up to the mic, heart steady. The spotlight hit warm and focused. My eyes swept the audience, and there she was, Rebecca, sitting front row, legs crossed, pen poised, planner beside her. She didn't blink. She didn't recognize me. "Today," I began, "I'm going to talk about storytelling, not just through words, but through design, how we shape emotion, identity, and memory through branding, especially in the wedding space." I didn't look at her again until 5 slides in. That was the moment she saw the mood board. Her mood board. The floral swatches she had chosen, the gold-embossed patterns she'd raved about, now layered over a refined minimalist brand reveal. Her brows furrowed. Slide by slide, I walked the crowd through our process, how our agency interprets a client's essence, how we translate that into design, how we create emotional connection. Rebecca leaned forward. The recognition was creeping in. Then came the final slide, a mock-up of a wedding welcome packet, identical to the one she'd praised weeks earlier. Still anonymous. Still elegant, still mine. A murmur rippled through the audience. Questions flew up after the talk ended. Designers wanting to learn more, brides asking about custom packages, a vendor requesting a meeting. I smiled, answered them all, signed cards. When I finally stepped off stage, Rebecca was waiting. She blocked my path like she owned it. "That was amazing," she said, voice uncertain. "You work for Miller Brand Co.?" "I run it," I said. Calm, even. Her eyes widened. "Wait, you're the one who designed your wedding materials?" I finished. "Yes." Silence. For a second, I saw a flash of something human, confusion, maybe guilt. Then it was gone, replaced with pride, stretched thin like a balloon about to pop. "You should have told me. You never asked." Rebecca folded her arms, defensive. "So what, you wanted to ambush me?" "No," I said. "I wanted you to like the work before you knew it was mine." "And what, now you expect me to, what? Apologize?" I shrugged. "Not really. I didn't come here for that. I came to do what I do best, and apparently you liked it." The planner appeared behind her, visibly shaken. "Rachel, we had no idea. Your company is incredible. We've already recommended you to 5 new clients." "I appreciate that," I said. Rebecca didn't move. Her smile faded. For the first time in years, she had nothing to say. No advice, no backhanded compliment, just silence. And I let it sit. Because the real mic drop had already happened, on stage, under lights, in front of a crowd that didn't know me as anyone's twin or backup plan. They knew me as the expert. And for once, so did she. Rebecca didn't say much after the expo. She left with her planner, her heels clicking faster than usual, her jaw set tight. No goodbyes, no congratulations, just the sound of her walking away from a truth she couldn't quite process. I didn't follow. Back home in Atlanta, the fallout trickled in quietly. My mom called 2 days later. "I heard you were at some wedding thing?" she asked, like I'd been spotted at a flea market instead of headlining a luxury expo. "Yes," I said. "My agency presented." She paused. "Rebecca said you've done well." She didn't go into details. I smiled to myself. Of course she didn't. "Well, I'm proud of both my girls," she added quickly, like it could undo years of favoritism. That weekend, I mailed my parents a package. Inside was a copy of the Expo's magazine feature with a 2-page spread on Miller Brand Co., a client testimonial from the event planner, and a photo of me on stage, spotlight sharp, hand-raised mid-presentation. I didn't include a note. 3 weeks later, the wedding invites were delivered, packaged in creamy envelopes with gold foil seals, custom wax stamps, and a branded monogram that Rebecca had once called perfectly regal. She sent a group text. "Invites arrived. Can't wait for everyone to see what the planner pulled together." I said nothing. She still hadn't acknowledged it publicly. Not on social media, not to the family. But that silence didn't sting anymore. It felt like a quiet surrender. The real shift came when a new client walked into my studio, flipping through her portfolio. "I saw your talk in Charleston," she said. "Your design for the Miller wedding was gorgeous." I raised an eyebrow. "You knew that was ours?" She grinned. "Everyone knows now." That was the difference. The work had outgrown the whispers, the assumptions, the old family story about the creative twin who never quite landed. I had landed, firmly, publicly, unapologetically. By the time Rebecca's wedding rolled around, things had changed. At the reception, she greeted me politely, posed for a few stiff photos. Tyler shook my hand with a nod that felt slightly more respectful than usual. My parents introduced me, this time by name and by title. "This is our daughter Rachel. She runs a design firm. Did Rebecca show you the invitations?" I raised a glass. "Cheers to exposure," I said softly. My mom didn't catch it. My dad laughed too loud. But Rebecca heard. She met my eyes, and for the first time, there was something almost like recognition there. Not love, not even apology, just understanding. That would have to be enough, because I wasn't building for them anymore. I was building for the clients who believed in the vision, the team who trusted my leadership, and the younger version of me who once wondered if she'd ever be taken seriously. She is now. The girl they overlooked had become the woman whose name they couldn't avoid. And the best part? I did it all without needing their permission. What about you? Have you ever had to make a difficult family decision that changed everything? We'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment below. We read every single one. If you're into real-life family drama like this, make sure to subscribe for more.